Welcome back to Loose Women now. Now, over the weekend, one of Europe's largest ocean-going cruise ships ran aground off the coast of Italy after rocks ripped a 160-foot-wide hole along one side. The Costa, a multi-storey vessel carrying over 4,000 passengers and crew, capsized off Italy's west coast, killing at least 6 and injuring dozens, while 15 remain missing. In yesterday's Telegraph, journalist Sarah Masefield wrote, "We have once again been reminded of the dangers of travelling by sea. Whatever the cause, this shows that 100 years on from the Titanic, such disasters can and still do happen. While regular cruisers are unlikely to be put off by what has happened to the Costa Concordia, the fear is that those who have never holidayed on a ship before may be deterred." So obviously our thoughts go out to anyone involved with the Costa and who is waiting for news. But do you think that the disaster will make you think twice about holidaying by sea? Because you're known as a traveller. You're the cruise lady. You're
Yes,
Jane McDonald.
I am, and I've just been on a cruise and it was fantastic. So I would say no, don't let this put you off, because I was lucky enough to be trained as a staff member for 8 years, knowing how to evacuate a ship. And the shipping line I worked for was very thorough with all of us, and we really had to. It was like being in the Navy. I mean, it was so rigorous, and you know, we had to learn everything theory-wise as well, how to get off the ship, how to evacuate everybody off the ship. So please don't let this horrible accident, you know, put you off cruising. It is still one of the finest holidays ever. The one problem I did see on the ship I've just been on is that there was a lot of elderly and a lot of disabled on the ship, and I wasn't taught how to deal with that side of it.
Really?
You know, because it went on its side, and I was thinking, what would I do with my mum? She can't swim. So that did sort of make me think, how would have I coped with that? But otherwise, you know, the staff are really trained to a big degree.
High degree.
Yeah, I mean, obviously accidents do and can happen, but what people have to, I think, remember is it's like with the air travel, it's the same thing. It's so rare. You know, I can't remember the last time there was an accident on a major cruise ship. But yeah, I think it would put people off because you can't eliminate all risk, you know, and there's always like different reasons why there are accidents, you know, human error, you know, computers, all of that. So I wouldn't let it put me off. I never do. In fact, I do regularly watch things about air accidents because I think it actually makes you feel safer. Because, you know, like you say, on the ships, they are very well trained in evacuating people, and I think in aircraft as well, when they do crash, which is so rare. I mean, there's thousands of ships out there, and you know, this is the one accident that we all know about. With aircraft, there are so many flights going all over the world every single day, thousands. And, you know, the reason that you know about air crashes is because they're so rare, they're always reported, you know, massive news. So, you know, I think that, you know, knowing about the risks involved and knowing, you know, what happens in that eventuality can actually make you feel safer because, you know, when you do watch it, you do understand that actually most people do survive air crashes than lose their lives. But, you know, people get injured. So I wouldn't let it put me off. I was in the tsunami in Phuket in 2004. I mean, right in it. And you know, we didn't go back the next year at the same time because it wasn't ready, it wasn't fixed. But then as soon as it was, which was about 13, 14 months later, we went straight back to exactly the same place. And, you know, you can't let these things put you off because they are, as I said, they're just
I think in terms of the cruise ships, I was always very nervous about the idea of being on a big ship out at sea. I'm quite frightened of deep dark water anyway, so that really frightened me. And then we went on our first cruise just over a year ago, and actually that completely changed my mind because we went up onto the is it called the bridge, where the captain is, and I saw how efficiently it was all run, how well trained the staff were, and actually I felt much safer. So I agree. I think don't let it put you off.
I think it's a worry though, especially with the children now, with having the kids.
That's true.
You know, when you think about the boat listing, what would I do with 2 babies? It scared me to death. I mean, God, those poor parents on that ship. You know, if you've got your kids at the other. I mean, I've never been. Did they have like a?
Well, at the time that it happened, I think most people were at dinner, and when we were on our cruise, our kids were in the kids' club, so that we could enjoy, which would have meant running from one end of the ship to the other to get the kids to to then try and get off. That is terrifying.
But that's the big problem.
Yeah.
They are so massive, and they keep building them bigger and bigger and bigger. And like Paul Merton said on his holiday show, he was on the biggest one, whatever that's called, and he said it was like a floating tower block.
Wow.
And you've got thousands of people, and you've got like 5,000-6,000 people to evacuate. I mean, doesn't bear thinking about.
It doesn't really. I mean, knowing the nuts and bolts, I mean, it's nice to know that Jane said that it is really, really safe. And I think that's very true. On what you were saying about knowing the nuts and bolts of air travel, and I wouldn't like to know that at all. I don't want to know anything.
Yeah.
I just want to get on and turn up. And,
It really
and
is
all very
safe.
nice.
I have to reiterate it again. It really is safe. I mean, I was up with the Captain Peter Philpott. Thank you very much for the offer for the bridge visit. And I was there watching the navigation, and Ed's very interested in all that. So we were watching it and seeing how it all works. And it is. I think it's just a tragic accident. Don't let this put you off cruising, please.
Well,
don't let
we've
this
had
put
some
you off.
various different opinions actually coming in from those of you at home. Thank you for getting in touch. Emma has said, I was talking to my partner last week about going on a cruise, but I'm definitely not going to now. Whereas Megan has said, life's too short to be living in fear of what if. I've been on 4 cruises and wouldn't hesitate for a second to go again. It's up to you really at the end of the day. But as I say, our thoughts go out to anyone who was involved in that disaster. It's break time now. We'll see you in a bit.